I'm Meera Patel, 26 years old, and for 3 years, I've been raising my sister's 4 kids like they are my own. My bakery business crashed and burned, leaving me broke. So, I moved in with her to start over. But instead of rebuilding my life, I became her unpaid nanny, cooking, driving, and parenting while she worked nights and barely showed up. I juggled a part-time coffee shop job and late-night graphic design classes, chasing a dream that felt further away every day. Then one night, she dropped a bombshell. I'm pregnant again. 5th kid. My stomach twisted. I'd given up everything. My savings, my goals, my freedom, and now another baby. I was done. I can't keep doing this. I snapped, my voice shaking as I stormed to my room. Her face hardened like I'd betrayed her. I decided right then to move out to finally live for myself, but she didn't let it go easily. Her reaction was explosive and things spiraled fast. What happened next turned our family upside down. If you've ever felt stuck carrying someone else's load, drop your story in the comments. Smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell to see how this drama unfolds. You won't believe what she did. Looking back every day with my sister's kids felt like a never-ending battle. I woke up to the usual chaos. My alarm blared at 5:30 and I dragged myself out of bed to get the kids ready. The oldest, Arjun, 15, was already arguing with his sister, Priya, 12, about who got the last Pop-Tart. You ate mine yesterday, Priya shouted, slamming the cupboard. I stepped in, splitting the pastry in half while Rohan 9 spilled orange juice on the counter. Kavya 6 clung to my leg, begging for braids before school. I barely had time to gulp cold coffee before piling them into the car. The drive to school was a circus. Arjun blasting music, Priya complaining about math, Rohan asking random questions about dinosaurs, and Kavya singing off-key. By the time I dropped them off, my head was pounding. I rushed to the coffee shop for my 6-hour shift, steaming milk and forcing smiles for cranky customers. Can you make it quick? A guy in a suit barked like I wasn't already juggling 3 orders. I earned $15 an hour, barely enough to cover my phone bill and gas. After work, I picked up the kids, helped with homework, and cooked spaghetti while breaking up another fight, this time over whose turn it was to feed the dog. Ananya, my sister, worked night shifts at the supermarket with her boyfriend Vikram. So, she was either sleeping or gone. I'd catch her for maybe 10 minutes a day when she'd mumble, "Thanks for holding it together," before crashing on the couch. Nights were my only escape. After tucking Kavya in and checking Priya's algebra, I opened my laptop for graphic design classes. I'd always loved creating logos, dreaming of my own studio, but staring at Photoshop tutorials at midnight felt like chasing a ghost. My eyes burned from exhaustion and I'd nod off mid-lesson, waking to a dead battery. One night, Priya crept in asking why I looked so tired. "Just trying to keep up," I said, forcing a smile. She hugged me and for a second I felt needed. But then I caught myself. Needed for what? Changing diapers, driving carpools, wiping tears. This wasn't my family. I started noticing how much I was carrying. Arjun needed rides to soccer practice. Priya had dance recital I couldn't miss. Rohan's science project was due. And Kavya's asthma meant constant trips to the pharmacy. I was spending my savings $3,000 from my failed bakery on their school supplies and doctor visits. Ananya pitched in sometimes, but her money went to rent and groceries. Vikram, who worked the same shifts, never offered a dime. "You're so good with them," Ananya would say like it was a compliment. But it wasn't. It was a trap. I was living her life, not mine. One evening, I called Neha, my best friend, to vent. "I'm drowning," I told her, pacing the kitchen while the kids watched TV. Neha, who ran her own graphic design gigs, didn't sugarcoat it. "You're not their mom, Meera. You can't keep putting your dreams on hold." Her words hit hard. I looked at my laptop open to a half-finished logo project and realized I hadn't submitted anything in weeks. My professors were emailing about missed deadlines and I was falling behind. The kids weren't the problem. I loved their chaos, their quirks, Arjun's sarcastic jokes, Priya's shy smiles, Rohan's endless questions, Kavya's clingy hugs. They were family. But I wasn't their parent. Ananya was, and she was barely there. Vikram too acted like the kids were my responsibility. I'd overhear him joking with Ananya about teamwork, but their teamwork meant me doing everything. I started calculating 10 hours a day on the kids, 6 at work, 3 on school. That left maybe 5 for sleep if I was lucky. My dream of designing full-time, of building something for myself, was slipping away. One night after Kavya cried herself to sleep over a lost stuffed animal, I sat alone staring at my sketchbook. I'd drawn nothing but stick figures for her lately, not the bold designs I used to create. I closed at my chest tight. I wasn't just tired, I was disappearing. Every day I spent raising Ononya's kids was a day further from who I wanted to be. I loved them, but I couldn't keep sacrificing myself. Something had to change. And soon, a week later, I was folding laundry when Ononya burst through the door. Her face lit up with a grin I hadn't seen in months. Right behind her was Vikram, her new boyfriend, carrying a pizza box and looking smug. "We've got news," Ononya said, her voice sharp with excitement. She grabbed my hand, pulling me to the couch. "I'm pregnant. 5th kid. Can you believe it?" Vikram nodded, tossing the pizza on the table like it was a celebration. My jaw tightened, but I forced a smile, muttering, "Wow, congrats." Inside, I was reeling. Another kid. I was already stretched thin, and they were acting like it was my job to cheer. That night, over dinner, Ononya dropped the real bomb. "We've been talking," she said, glancing at Vikram, who leaned back with a smirk. "You're so good with the kids, Meera. We need you to step up more. Maybe quit the coffee shop to focus on them full time." I froze fork halfway to my mouth. "Quit my job?" I repeated, my voice low. Vikram shrugged. "Yeah, we're swamped at the supermarket. With the baby coming, we can't handle everything." Ononya chimed in. "Plus, we're tight on cash. You could chip in $300 a month for rent. It's only fair since you're living here." My pulse raced. $300. I was barely scraping by, pouring my savings into their kids' needs. I tried to stay calm. "I'm already doing everything: school runs, meals, homework. I can't quit my job." Ononya's eyes narrowed. "You're here eating our food, using our space. You owe us," Vikram added. "It's just temporary. We'll figure it out after the baby." His casual tone made my blood boil. Temporary. I'd been their crutch for 3 years. I pushed my plate away, standing up. "I need to think about this," I said, walking out before I said something I'd regret. The next day, I called Neha while the kids were at school. "They want me to quit my job and pay rent," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "They're acting like I'm their live-in maid." Neha didn't hesitate. "They're using you, Meera. You're not their employee. What about your design classes? Your future?" Her words stung, but they were true. I'd been so caught up in keeping their family afloat, I'd forgotten my own goals. I hung up, staring at my laptop, where an unfinished logo project sat untouched. I was falling behind. And for what? To play mom for Ononya's kids. Over the next few days, Ononya and Vikram kept pushing. "Think of the kids," Ononya said one morning, handing me a list of new chores, grocery runs, doctor appointments for Kavya's asthma, soccer fees. Vikram even suggested I sell my old bakery equipment to help out. I wanted to scream. They weren't asking for help. They were demanding I give up my life. I started noticing how they'd dodge responsibility. Ononya would sleep through the kids' arguments, leaving me to mediate. Vikram would hang out after work, joking with Ononya while I cooked dinner. I was invisible to them, just a tool to make their lives easier. One evening, Arjun caught me packing my laptop after a late study session. "You okay?" he asked, his usual sarcasm gone. I hesitated, then said, "I'm trying to be." He nodded like he understood more than I thought. The kids weren't blind. They saw how much I did. But Ononya and Vikram, they acted like it was my duty. I went to bed that night, my mind racing. I couldn't keep this up. My savings were dwindling. My classes were slipping. And my dream of designing was fading. I had to find a way out. Not just for me, but to show the kids I wasn't abandoning them. I started checking rental listings online, my fingers trembling as I typed. $300 a month. I'd rather spend it on a place of my own. I wasn't their servant, and I was done letting them treat me like one. The next evening, I was helping Priya with her history homework when Ononya stormed into the kitchen, her arms crossed. "We need to talk," she snapped, her voice cutting through the quiet. I sat down the textbook, bracing myself. "What's up?" I asked, keeping my tone even. Ononya didn't waste time. "You're not pulling your weight, Meera." I told Ononya she needed to step up, but she said, "You're still working at that coffee shop. That's irresponsible." Her words cut deep. I'd been taking care of her house for years. "I'm doing everything I can," I snapped. "I cook, clean, and drive the kids every day." She rolled her eyes. "That's not enough. With the baby coming, we need you here, not wasting time on some hobby degree." I pushed my chair back. "My design classes aren't a hobby. They're my future. She laughed coldly. You live in my house, eat my food, and now you think you're better than us. Her words stung. I wanted to fight back, but Priya was watching. I took a deep breath. I'm not your servant, Ananya. I've given you 3 years of my life. She stepped closer. If you're not fully committed, maybe you shouldn't be here at all. I froze. Was she telling me to leave? She walked away, and I stood there shaking. I called my friend Neha. She was calm. Mira, set boundaries. You're not her employee. You deserve your own space and dreams. Her words lit a spark in me. That night I searched for apartments in Madison. Studios cost about $1,500 a month. With my $3,000 savings from my old bakery job, I could cover the deposit and first month. It would be tight. I'd have to keep working at the coffee shop and cut back on everything else. Fear mixed with excitement. I could make it work. I had to. But when I thought of the kids, Arjun's worried face, Priya's hugs, Rohan's chatter, and little Kavya clinging to me, my heart ached. Leaving would hurt them. Still, staying meant losing myself. The next day I told Arjun, I'm thinking about moving out. He frowned. Because of Mom. I nodded. I need to live my life too. But I'll still be here for you, just in a different way. That night I made a budget. $1,500 for rent, $500 for food and utilities, $200 for classes. With my coffee shop job, $15 an hour, 30 hours a week, I'd barely scrape by. No extras, no treats. Ananya noticed something was off. You're acting weird, she said when she caught me looking at apartment listings. Just planning, I answered flatly. She scoffed and called me selfish. I didn't argue. Neha texted, you're doing the right thing. Don't let her guilt trip you. I held on to that thought. I wasn't just leaving a house, I was taking my life back. I visited a small studio apartment. Just one room and a tiny kitchen, but I could imagine it as mine. It cost $1,500 plus deposit. My savings could just cover it if I was careful. Back home, I kept quiet to avoid fights. I started preparing the kids. I pulled Arjun aside after dinner and gave him a notebook. If I move out, you'll need to help more, I said. He threw the notebook in anger. You're leaving us because of Mom. I stayed calm and showed him how to make a grocery list, plan meals, and check Kavya's inhaler. He complained but listened. At 15, he could handle it. Priya overheard and asked softly, are you leaving because we're too much? My heart broke. No, it's not you. I just need my own space. She hugged me and cried. I promised I'd still be close. Rohan and Kavya were confused. Who will help with my science project? Rohan asked. Will you still braid my hair? Kavya whispered. I promised them I would visit and call every day. I toured more apartments, one near a park, one closer to work. I realized I could earn about $1,800 a month if I pushed myself. Maybe I'd pause my classes for a month to save, then start again. Neha kept cheering me on. You're taking control, she said. That gave me courage. I even taught Arjun how to use the washing machine. He muttered, Mom never does this, but he was starting to notice. By the end of the week, I signed the lease for the studio. I packed a small bag, hid my sketches, and prepared quietly while Ananya was busy. I told the kids I'd move soon. Arjun's anger softened. Priya drew me a picture. Rohan and Kavya looked lost, but I hoped they'd understand someday. I wasn't abandoning them. I was showing them, and myself, that we all had to stand up for our own lives. Hope flickered inside me. I was ready to take the step, even if I had to face it alone.